Good blessed Tuesday night, February the 9th, 2021. It's about 6:51 p.m. First, I want to say, may the peace and blessings of God be with all human beings, those that like me and those that don't. And I've been praying, and my uncle up in Kankakee and his wife and some of my other relatives, you know, they don't like to see me angry, and most definitely they don't like to hear me saying that I'm no longer Ivy. And all you true Ivies, all you Ivies that don't play favoritism with other Ivies, accept my deepest apologies. My what should I say? My beef is with a couple of individuals one is still married to one of my uncles, and one of my uncles is deceased down here in Charleston, Missouri, Mississippi County. I have nothing to do with neither one of them anymore. Especially, I love my Uncle Percy and my Uncle Irvin. I love my Uncle Irvin and his wife and all of his children and grandchildren. I love my Uncle Percy, and I would always have respect for him, but I don't have no respect for his wife or none of his children by his wife. Those that don't know, Uncle Percy have 2 sons before he was married to this evil particular individual, Ann Ivy. You see what I'm saying? Who's an Ivy now, not Ivy by birth. He has 2 other children that they don't recognize. But Grandma Flora Ivy Scott let me know about him. And some of my cousins introduced me to him. And they 2 good young men. But let me tell y'all something about Ann Ivy. How she, when she's not around y'all, how she separates in the way she treat certain Ivies like me, my daddy, and my 2 young daughters down here. If you got a beef with me, you don't stop us from talking to my uncle, Percy Ivy, who was my uncle before he married your ugly behind. And whoever don't like what I'm saying, y'all, what your best thing to do is keep it to yourself. Don't come down here. But anyway, I just want to let the other family know, y'all that came from St. Louis, I appreciate all of y'all, each and every one of y'all. Y'all came from Chicago and other places, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I appreciate all of y'all. My beef is right here in Charleston, Missouri. You see what I'm saying? Where Ann Ivy living in a house that she shouldn't even be living in, probably waiting on my Uncle Percy to pass away. All y'all got to do is look at Grandma's house right now. Uncle Percy is not able to move around and do things like he used to do. Family from up north offered to come down and help, but it was declined. You remember that good shed that used to be in Grandma's, side of Grandma's backyard? It's a slab of concrete. The whole shed is gone. The house was leaking in the inside, top on top of it. You remember the central air unit, the big central air unit that her brother Thomas used to come and service all the time? The whole unit is up out of the ground. No longer what it was. That's how she treating our grandparents' house. But you see, I was put out. But I ain't gonna even worry about that. I was put out, but God has blessed me. Some of Grandma's friends allowed me and my daughters to live in one of their houses. But let me tell y'all, that's food about Ann. Ann, neither one of her daughters hasn't called since my daddy died January the 30th. Did none of them show up at the service? They didn't even let my Uncle Percy call. They didn't even let my Uncle Percy come to his brother's life celebrations. And if you look at that picture that was taken on the day we buried my daddy on February the 5th, you look at that picture that was taken in their house, you don't see Uncle Percy smiling. You see his wife in the back of him smiling. Uncle Percy ain't smiling. Every time me and my two daughters walk past that house, when Ann Ivy, Percy's wife, wasn't there, Uncle Percy would always ask how my daddy doing. That was his brother. Now, what woman would marry a man and wouldn't at least let her brother, her husband, call his brother's son and granddaughters that at least let them talk to their uncle or their great uncle? This is Ann Ivy, y'all. Some of y'all that's fooled thinking she saved, sanctified, and full with the Holy Ghost. I ain't gonna tell you what she full with. It ain't no Holy Ghost. But I just want y'all Ivies to know I ain't mad at none of y'all. I said I don't want to be no Ivy. I'm an Ivy by birth. You see what I'm saying? My grandfather, Barry Ivy, has nothing to do with what Ann Ivy doing. But see, what you Ivies have to start doing when somebody wrong, instead of just always talking about me, investigate. I've been down here 25 years. My daddy been down here 6 years, 3 months and 4 days. Ann Ivy haven't invited us down there nan time. You know, Ann Ivy and them inherit my grandmother's house in 1997, in September 1997, when Grandma died. You see, from May the 3rd of 1996 to September the 4th of 1997, I was paying the house note at Grandma's house, $166 a month at the Saving and Loan Bank downtown. I was paying the water bill. I was paying the cable bill. And those that might have been locked up at the time that Grandma didn't have long distance phone calls on her phone, I'm the one put it on there. Grandma didn't ask me, but I did that because that's how my mama and daddy brought me up. I couldn't live on my daddy's mother and not do nothing. Yeah, I'm angry, but God says it's okay to be angry, but don't sin in your anger. I didn't go down there and hurt nobody. But I just want to let y'all know, Ann Ivy is not for the Ivy. She waiting on my Uncle Percy to pass away so she can cash in on some insurance. You see what I'm saying? Her and the other auntie, all they do is just gossip. They come down to see my daddy on the 29th of January, that Friday. Act like they were praying for him, and then go call into Chicago and say, yeah, I prayed for him right before he died. But ain't heard nothing from him since. Ain't now one of them contributed nothing. They didn't even give us a sympathy card. Like I said, Ann Ivy, my Uncle Percy, none of his children's didn't even come to my dad, Uncle Percy's brother's homegoing. But that go to show you what type of people everybody that say that they're a Christian, saved, sanctified, and full with the Holy Ghost, they ain't saved, sanctified, and full with the Holy Ghost. But I'm just letting y'all know, I ain't going to let myself go to the point where I'm going to get down to their level, but I don't want to have nothing. I love my Uncle Percy, but I don't want to have nothing to do with his wife, nor neither one of his daughters. But I think his son-in-law called before my daddy died, after my daddy died, and Sunday when my daughter was heading back to Chicago, he was giving her a traveling grace. Uncle Percy's wife or kids didn't do that. They ain't even said nothing to us since my daddy died. But one thing about it, see, y'all don't know that I remember when I moved down here with Grandma, y'all was staying in the country by the city dump, living free. And then when Grandma died, y'all got together and put me out. I was homeless. Didn't none of y'all ask me, do you have a place to stay? My sister had to pay $1,000 at grandma's funeral, and the Lincoln School wrote a $1,000 check out to get grandma's 1983 Grand Marquis so I can have something to ride around in. But you know one thing about it? I thank God for some of grandma's friends. Mother Bonds and her son Gus. They wasn't going to let me be homeless. And I thank y'all. And I thank everybody else that couldn't make it. At least y'all called. I thank everybody that couldn't make it. At least you text. Every one of my daddy's brothers and sisters either called or sent a representative, except Uncle Percy in his household. But we don't charge Uncle Percy with that because Uncle Percy conditions. He's not able to dial, but his wife or daughters and them could have. They didn't want to. You know why? Because they don't like Raymond Lewis Ivy. But let me tell y'all something about Raymond Lewis Ivy. When you don't like me, you're doing the right thing to stay away from me because I ain't fully deliberate. I don't like nobody bringing discord against no Ivies. Y'all definitely may have Ivy blood. Your mama don't have none. Ain't used to having nothing, tore up my grandmother's house. I'm going to leave like this here, y'all, before I get ignorant. God forgive me for anything I did wrong. But family that came down from St. Louis and every place else, I love y'all. My anger is directed at these two so-called aunties down here in Charleston, Missouri, that they don't care nothing about the Ivies. All they doing is living in Ivy's property. Peace be still.